put together a Grand Theft Auto video for your viewing pleasure on YouTube, and this is the first time I'm actually doing it.
None of you fucking fucks move! Get on the floor!
So I'm not gonna fast forward this one.
All you're gonna get is a bullet to the heart!
Don't none of you worry about nothing. We're here for the bank's money. It's going to a greater cause.
Shut up and handle the safe!
Let's try this again, because the last time I did it, I ended up deleting the video without actually posting it. So let's try this again, and let's actually stick to what I know, and maybe confine it to one video instead of two. But starting with the most important update, Chris Bassett is off to Toronto on a 3-year, $63 million deal, which which is very deserving for somebody who did quite well on the grand stage. You know, it's like they say, if you can make it in New York, you can make it anywhere. And Chris Bassett made it in New York last season as one of the more stable pieces in the rotation for the Mets. So if there's anything he will do, it is bring stability to a Blue Jays rotation that is in need of stability, desperate need of stability, after losing Hung Jin Ryu. So if there's anything that the Blue Jays need, it's a stable arm to give some more well, again, to say it again, to give more stability to a struggling team that just needs a hand in, you know, basically just they just need a healthy arm that's going to bring some stability to a team that is on the cusp. Speaking of Chris Bassett, that they just need some stability for an arm that will help bring the team another step forward to what they want, and what they want is a postseason run, a deep postseason run, and not to be taken out in the wild card game. But they want a deep postseason run in 2023, and based on the shape the AL East is in, I think it is entirely possible that if there was any year that the Blue Jays could run away with the division, it would be 2023. Because speaking of their counterparts in the American League East, the Yankees are in desperate need of starting pitching and are running out of options as far as top of the line starters that they could look to fill the void left by Jameson Taillon. Because left and right people are signing, including Chris Bassett, who was an option for the Giants to fall back on if they lost out on if they lost out on Carlos Rodon, because the Rodon market right now is shaping up to be the Giants, the Yankees, the Orioles, and the Twins. And from what I've been hearing, it seems like Rodon wants around 7 years. He wants around a 7-year contract, which is not far-fetched, to be honest with you. It is not that far-fetched for him to want that type of contract. But would a team like the Yankees give Rodon that type of contract? I think if they're that desperate, yes. If they are that desperate, yes, they will. But if they're not that desperate and they see somebody else that they could look to fill that void, then I think Carlos may be out of luck, as when the ball is in his court, when the ball is in his court, it's one thing, but when the ball is in the court of public opinion, it's a little bit different. Because yes, the Yankees are running out of options, But at the same time, does that mean that I don't see the Yankees being the type of team that gives somebody that type of contract for the sake of giving them that type of contract and not just try and make do with what they got? Speaking of making do what they got, the Giants did end up getting Ross Stripling. So Ross Stripling did join the San Francisco Giants to fill in somewhat of the void left by Rodon. But that does not mean that the Giants are perfect for next season. They need a frontline starter. Otherwise, otherwise they'd be better off just saying that they're going to sit on their hands next season and look to 2023, look at 2023 as a building block for 2024 rather than rather than looking at 2024, looking at 2023 as, what 2020, something more. But my point is that 2023 can be something more for the Giants, but they gotta be aware that, for lack of a better word, they need some leeway. They need to allow some leeway for their team, and the leeway that they got to allow is if they don't have the players, they can't make it happen. So you need the players to be able to make it happen, and that means that they got to make waves and get some starters and beat out the Yankees, which is something that they didn't do for the Aaron Judge sweepstakes. So just imagine how much of a hard pill that would be to swallow for the Giants if they lose two of their top targets to the same team. But that's why I would love to see Baltimore or Minnesota open up the purse strings and go for Carlos Rodon to swoop in and take Rodon out from underneath the Yankees and the Giants, seeing the lower market teams swoop in and take one of the free agent targets from one of the major market teams would be a pleasant sight to see, especially considering the fact that the Minnesota Twins, are also in on one of the top shortstops that remain, that being Carlos Correa. Correa was housed by the Twins last season and ended up walking away outside of his not exercising his player option for another season to try and make a bit more money over the long term. I think it's also maybe to try and win because Minnesota was not in the postseason last year. But if there's any division that is wide open, it would be the AL Central. So there is a possibility Correa could be moving back to Minnesota. But the Giants are said to be also in on Carlos Correa as a fallback option if Rodon goes elsewhere. But the Yankees, the Mets, and the Cubs have also been talked about as possible landing spots for one of the top shortstops in baseball, that being Carlos Correa. I mean, I don't know how Yankee fans would feel, but has enough time passed from 2017 for Correa to end up in the pinstripes? I don't know. As far as Mr. Steve Cohen, you know, do you really need another superstar? I mean, I don't really know. But what I do know is that the interest for Justin Turner has is way higher than I thought it would be, because I thought it would be academic that Turner would go back to the Dodgers and not turn around and go somewhere else. But the fact of the matter is, it seems more likely that Turner will not end up going back to Los Angeles and may find a new home elsewhere, as opposed to looking to his long time stomping ground, that being Dodger Blue, as a way to end out his career or round out his career. But based on rumors, it just doesn't seem like the Dodgers. It just doesn't seem like the Dodgers may have much interest in their long time third baseman returning to the organization. Which, I am a firm believer in the idea of moving on before, sometimes moving on is easier to do before you have to do it. By that I mean if Scherzer was, let's say, 32 years old, 34 years old, it would be better off to move on before he starts dropping rather than after, because it would be harder to move him when he's not who he used to be. So maybe that's what the Dodgers decided to do. They wanted to move on to Turner while his legacy was still that of a all-star, and let him move into a more of a veteran leadership role with a younger team. And that's why I think the Mets should be looking at the possibility of adding Justin Turner on a short-term deal, because not only is he a proven winner from his time in Los Angeles, but Justin Turner would help stabilize and improve a mediocre position for the Mets, and in my opinion, one of the weaker positions in the Mets lineup, that being third base. And it would also help the kids like Beatty and Vientos to sit under the learning tree and learn from one of the most consistent third basemen in the last 10 years, that being Justin Turner. So if there's any place I could see Justin Turner maybe going, it's $9 to $12 million for a year, maybe two, to go with the Mets. And if it is 2 years, then it would be 24 to 18 million, something to that effect, to go with the Mets. But I could see Justin Turner being a Met before the year is out, before the offseason wraps up. And just a question for the Met, from the Mets standpoint, would going with a six-man rotation be something that may benefit the team in the long run? Because Justin Verlander was a part of a six-man rotation last year, and Kodai Senga in Japan would only pitch once a week. So my question is, if it's something that would benefit the team, is it something that they should at least consider? If it is something that they would benefit the team, is it something that they should at least consider? In my opinion, the answer to that question is academic. Of course, it is something that they should consider if it's going to keep their investments happy, because if there's anything that we need to know is that the average age of the Mets rotation is not super young. Just pointing it out there. If I had to guess, I would love to see I would love to see either Rodon or Correa end up in Minnesota. But as far as where I think the two are going to end up, I think it is pretty clear at this point that it would be dumbfounding if Carlos Correa did not end up, if Carlos Rodon, I should say, if Rodon did not end up with the Yankees. Because of the two Chris's, I think it is more likely that Rodon will end up a member of the Yankees more than it would be to see Carlos Correa as a member of the Yankees. I'm not discounting the possibility. I'm just saying that overall, it seems more likely that Carlos Correa would go to Minnesota and that Carlos Rodon would end up in pinstripes. But with that being said, I also think that of the things that we talked about in this video, a six-man rotation for the Mets seems to be the most likely thing and the most surefire thing that could happen this in 2023. But overall, odds are Yankees get Rodon. Would I love to see things shake up and Baltimore or Minnesota swoop in and take Rodon from the Yankees? Absolutely. But that's just my opinion. I would love to see. Hell, I would love to see the Twins get Carlos Correa and Baltimore get Carlos Rodon and really throw a monkey wrench into what's going on in 2023, because it's always fun seeing things shake up and the expectations then are forced to change because of the fact that, again, what I said earlier, where do the Yankees turn if they don't end up with Rodon? Because the Yankees need a pitcher and they can't go back and get Jameson Taillon because he's on the Chicago Cubs. That's my question. Where do the Yankees turn if they lose Rodon? It's a solid question. But I don't think that the Mets are done. I just think that the Mets should go the veteran leadership role as opposed to trying to look for another superstar because I know money is no object, but playing time is. And playing time is something that the players will talk about and wonder how you're going to adjust with superstars all over the place if playing time is an issue. It's a good issue to have, but not one you really want to test your luck with, in my opinion. But either way, these have been my thoughts on the happenings on the hot stove. And if there's anything to take away from this video, it is that the hot stove is not cooling down anytime soon. My only question is, what happens when the top 50 free agents list on justbaseball.com is filled up because everyone signed somewhere, which will be an inevitability, as I didn't even realize Mike Zunino signed a 1-year, $6 million deal with the Guardians, and like I mentioned earlier, um, Ross Stripling signed a 2-year deal with the San Francisco Giants. But I love this website. I love this list. It has been a big help for these videos, so I do appreciate justbaseball.com for putting out this list. You can check below for the updates. For the link, so you can check it out yourself, because I also have top 10 free agent outfielders and top 5 free agent shortstops. So you can check that out for yourself. That is down below in the description. But if you're enjoying this type of content, you could let me know that you are by leaving a like, dropping a subscription, or dropping a comment about your favorite part of the video. And with that being said, do not forget, let me offer you some advice. Do not forget to ding that notification bell to always know when a new video is up on the channel, because that is the only way YouTube will send you a notification if you click the bell next to the subscription box. And with that being said, see you soon.